received all the way along through the consultants and the planning team. You know, this is a topic that's come up. It's been a topic of public
Well,
input.
yeah, it's a topic
and
to come
board.
up, but I don't necessarily think that that should just come out as a recommendation. Just because you talk about it and there's been discussions about it, don't necessarily mean it's evolved as a recommendation.
Okay, well, certainly when that comes up, you can indicate.
Yeah, I think that's a discussion this board needs to make.
Oh, absolutely, and you will.
Well, it kind of bothers me when I hear it's going to become as a recommendation in the general plan.
Okay, what I mean by recommendation is it's going to be in the draft for your review. So,
Much along the lines of many, many other things.
yes, everything in the draft is for your review. And then finally, there were two other areas of question. One was the economic study that was done as part of the Ukiah Valley Area Plan process. That was actually a subcontract from the MIG contract, and it cost a total of $29,500, which was significantly less than actually had been budgeted for it. With regard to municipal service reviews, so this is the last question I'll address, it's clear that most entities in the county have not met the state deadline for completion of these reviews, and the situation is of concern for a whole variety of reasons, and I'm sure you're aware of all of those. Consultants and staff are reviewing what needs to be included in the Ukiah Valley Area Plan in order to address potential land use designation changes and their potential impacts on water and sewer services that are currently available or projected to be available in the future. So, yes, people are aware of that, and it will be reflected in the Ukiah Valley Area Plan in such a way that you will be able to take action on it. That's the Ukiah Valley Area Plan update. Are there any questions on that? Okay. The other updates are shorter. So, general plan update, PMC is the consultant for that. They're sifting through, as you know, several years of community input and multiple planning commission minutes to revise and refine the draft general plan update and EIR. In this case, the same consultant is working on both hand in hand. We have completed the process of reviewing general plan amendment requests and appreciate the board's involvement in that process. Considerable review has gone into water policies. Again, you've been a key part of that. Given the need to cover climate change issues in the general plan update, PMC will also need a contract augmentation. Also, we're still working off the contract that was signed, I don't know, 3-4 years ago. It predates the planning team. So, you know, all of the delays that have been built into this before it even got to the planning team are, you know, we're going to have to address that as we come into the home stretch for the general plan update as well. At this point, the consultants and staff are going back to the Planning Commission at their next meeting to clarify several points from previous meetings, and they will be reviewing additional input that has been received from the Anderson Valley community, and we're hoping that we will get some additional input from a meeting that we were told is happening today. So staff are on the lookout for any additional information there. And there is input promised from the Child Care Planning Council on child care facilities and any possible revisions to the general plan that would be supportive of child care, basically facilities and businesses in the county area. So those areas we're working on. The public hearing on the draft general plan update in EIR is targeted to August 18th, 2008. And all these things are on your work plan, with 1 to 2 public hearings scheduled before the Planning Commission prior to that. And we are actually right now in the process of trying to schedule all of the Planning Commission hearings so that within a couple of weeks we'll have those laid out as well. It's anticipated that the public review drafts will be available to the public by the end of June for the general plan update. So you can see that we're kind of on a sequence here, and once you get in the pipeline, hopefully the timeframes take care of themselves. But okay, any questions on general plan? Farmworker housing survey. This has been a contract with the California Institute for Rural Studies. The surveys were developed, distributed, and collected last year. All data has now been entered, and it's being analyzed at this point. The origin and destination data, because we got grant funding from Caltrans to fund part of this farm workers survey, even though it's part of the housing element requirement to do this survey for housing purposes. So we're looking at both transportation and housing. And origin destination data, this is transportation, that Patrick will need to generate the possible van routes for future service, we should be getting by the end of the week. We expect to get a draft of the findings will come to staff for review by the end of March. Administrative review will be conducted, revisions, et cetera, by the beginning of May, and the final report will be coming to you, the board, at the end of May or beginning of June. So within the next several months, we should be able to bring that particular project to closure, although all that does is start the discussion of, okay, now what do we do with that information, and how does it kind of inform us as we go forward with decisions around transportation and housing for farm workers. 50-acre, any questions on that? 50-acre rezone, the board process approved 49 acres for rezoning, and staff have moved forward to actualize those rezones, because once they happen, they, by right, people then can develop to the density allowed in those rezones. At least 40 acres are proceeding without hitch. Additional discussion with owners is affecting less than 9 acres. So if you were wondering, of those, how much was actually coming to fruition, it's over 40 of the 49 acres. And ultimately, it may be all 49, but wanted to give you that update. The remaining acreage to be rezoned is going to come forward as part of the Ukiah Valley Area Plan process. So everything that was in the UVAP area is coming forward as part of that process. It did not come to you as part of the 50-acre rezone that was presented to you. And once that remaining acreage goes through the UVAP process, we will more than exceed the 50-acre target, even with if there's additional slippage in the acreage. So we are almost there already, and that's before we even deal with the UVAP properties. So we're on our way there.
Hopefully the state will appreciate that.
Yes. Any questions on that? Okay. Housing element, inclusionary housing ordinance. Staff are tracking all tasks in the housing element, so you need to know that, even though we're focusing on a couple of the highest priority items for public interaction, there are other elements that they're continuing to work on. The priority after the 50-acre rezone is the inclusionary housing ordinance, and staff have continued to work on both the proposed ordinance itself, the components, the language, the request to consider voluntary nature of some of the components, as well as a simplified presentation and clear decision-making process for the board to go through in considering the ordinance. That was one of my requests that it needed to, because the last presentation was pretty dense, I would say. So we're working on that. It's targeted to be presented to the board on April 22nd. So that's what we're looking at. And we will also engage in a larger discussion regarding other affordable housing strategies as follow-up to the discussion in yesterday's economic development workshop. It should also be noted that the housing element, alone among all the general plan components, is a 5-year element. And what that means is in 2009, it will be necessary to begin work on the next housing element. But we certainly have a wealth of experience with this last one that was not drafted by this planning team, and I think that will definitely influence how they approach the next housing element. Any questions on that? I'm saving the best for last. Okay, Mendocino Town Plan. Thanks to our part-time student intern, the planning team is able to begin reviewing historical files on the Mendocino Town Plan and a plan for the collection, review, and updating of data on the town of Mendocino. So the planning team met with coastal planning and building staff to talk about the history and the tasks last